Welcome to Simply Mimic. Today we are going to be making a freshly milled whole wheat sourdough bread. I use red berries and I freshly mill them at home, probably around 2 hours prior to me using them because I want them to cool down in temperature. And I am going to be using 410 grams of water at room temperature and an active and very well fed sourdough starter. In this case, this is a levain, which a lot of bakers use this term to describe the product that you get from freshly feeding a starter that has been kept in the fridge with flour. So for me, it's just starter. So after we add the red wheat berry flour and the kamut, we are going to place it in the kitchen. Now, the reason why I like to use red berries and kamut, this combination, I love it because of the kamut gives a wonderful golden tone, like a yellowish color to the bread, and it has a very rich buttery flavor. And the red berries for me is the grain that has the most flavor. Now, I did try today the Giacora grains and they are amazing. Like that is my favorite now. So I like to explore with different grains to see how they taste and the quality of the bread, how it comes out, right? But I'll be uploading that video soon for the Giacora red berries. So after we incorporate all the ingredients in the KitchenAid, this is for about 2 to 5 minutes. We're going to let it autolize for an hour, and then we are going to go ahead and add the salt, and we are going to continue kneading until we achieve a window pane test. How do you know when this has been achieved? Pretty much is when the dough starts coming off completely off the bowl and starts wrapping up around the hook. As you can see here, the more I stretch it, the more window pane I get, and this dough is telling me that it's ready to be stretch and fold and then continue the bulk fermentation. I like to wet my hands to work with this dough as it's a high hydration dough. Remember, when we're working with freshly milled flour, you need a bit more water. I was scared of working with high hydration at the beginning, and I was doing mine at 80, sometimes even at 76, and oh my gosh, that crumb was very dense. The number of stretch and fold that I do are way more because I like to continue to do them until I feel resistance from my dough. And I do this for 3 to 5 sets depending on the temperature of my house and how my dough is behaving. When do you stop performing the stretch and folds? It's when your dough stops relaxing as much. You are going to feel it be way more tense and it will not be as stretchy. And this is the signal that your dough is telling you, leave me alone. I need to continue bulk fermentation and my stretch and folds are done. Now here we are going to perform our first shaping, and then we are going to let it bench rest. And how do we do this? Basically, we grab from left to right or right to left and we fold it halfway. And then we are going to repeat the same way, opposite side. And then we are going to tuck and roll, as you can see here. After that, we are going to tuck in everything under the dough and we are going to start tucking and sliding. Now your counter cannot have too much flour because you will not be able to create tension. We need that surface tension and that clean surface to go ahead and stretch it really good. I'm able to still do it with a little bit of flour on the counter because of practice. But to begin with, I highly recommend you to not have as much flour on the counter because it will be a struggle for you to create tension on your dough. After you do this, then you are going to let it that I was using to let bulk ferment my dough. Why? Because I don't want to clean 2000 dishes. Nobody wants that. After the 60 minutes has passed, you can see that the dough relaxed a little bit, but not much. We are going to perform our final shaping. Now for the final shaping, we are not going to do the same technique that we did before. We are going to do something a bit different. And in this case, we're just gently going to manipulate the dough, stretch it a little bit without deflating it. And we are going to pick opposite sides and pinch them in the middle. Why am I doing this? I want to concentrate everything right in the middle because in this case, we are going to make a bowl, which is a rounder shape sourdough bread instead of the oval one, which is the batard. And then we are going to go ahead and flip our dough, and we are going to create some tension using the surface of the counter to do this as we did before in the pre-shape. And once we finish this, we are going to place it in our banneton basket, and we are going to place it in the fridge for 8 to 12 hours. That is my max amount because we are working with freshly milled flour and we do not want to overproof our dough. Remember that freshly milled flour works completely different from store-bought flour. Now, next day is here, 10 hours have passed that my dough was cold proofing in the fridge. I do perform the poke test. I do not rely on it. Why? Because sometimes it's not reliable and the change in temperature in the dough can affect, of course, the poke test results. So I use parchment paper to transfer my dough and bake my dough in my Dutch oven. And after that, we go ahead and lightly flour the surface of our dough and score it. And we need to score it so we can create a weak point, and that way your dough will not just burst and find just whatever spot on the dough and just completely burst during oven spring. So you can create just one scoring along the top, the side, however you want. There's many ideas on the internet and here on YouTube and on Instagram. So go and find the one that you would like to try and practice. Don't give up. The important thing is that your bread tastes amazing and that it's healthy. So scoring is honestly the least of my concerns. But I ain't gonna lie, I do enjoy scoring the bread. And I would like to become better at it. So once you score the dough, you are going to go ahead and place it in the oven, which have been preheated to 500 degrees for 30 minutes. And I like to place ice cubes to create more steam and trap it in there. And that's what you see me doing here. That's why I leave my parchment paper a bit bigger so I can then hide the ice cubes in there. Here is how my bread is looking. After the 20 minutes have passed at 500 degrees, we decrease the oven to 430 and we continue baking for 15 minutes, and then this is how the bread has turned out. I love the result, and you are going to see the crumb now. This bread is so delicious. Allow your bread to cool completely for at least 3 hours before cutting. Otherwise, you are going to have a very gummy crumb, and we don't want that. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you liked it and that you learned something. Go ahead and try this recipe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and like if you did. And please go ahead and just go and simply mimic this, give it a try, and don't forget to follow. Bye.